Joaquin Gage. This is your flu game, Joaquin.
I know, buddy. That's
the weekend has caught up to you.
You're my Scottie Pippen. You're my Scottie Pippen, buddy.
Yeah, well, welcome. Make sure to join us on TuneIn, iHeart, or you can watch us on the YouTube channel. Also, hit us up on the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999, or the Nasty Chat on YouTube. Fun show coming up. We're going to recap the Monday night where my Niners picked up the win in a very impressive fashion. We're also going to get to Travis Dermott, Rob, rumblings, a lot of NHL news. Dave Pagnotta will join us at 1:20 to talk about all that. Pacioretty rumors about him going to Toronto. We'll get to all that. Adam Larson signing, a guy that I know Oiler fans were targeting at the trade deadline. We'll also hear from McDavid as he spoke to the media down there at the informal skate of the Edmonton Oilers at 2:20. We'll go around the CFL with John Hodge from 3 Down Nation. And, of course, we'll tee up the Reed Wilkins show coming up at 3 o'clock with Jay Milne. Gager, my man, what you think of the Monday Nighter?
What did I think of the Monday Night? Well, anticipation, I guess, would be the best word for the Monday Nighter. Wanting to see what was going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. By all accounts, it sounded like there was some issues with mobility in the pocket. I don't know. Did he look a little tentative at times? It seemed like he was loosening up as the game went on, and there was some. There were some pretty good passes that he threw. I think the Niners secondary did an incredible job of some batting some balls down at key points. But look, man, that Niners team's for real. Like Purdy's pretty good. He looks like a veteran. That guy, he's gonna get paid so much.
$1 million he's making.
That? Crazy. Just crazy.
Unreal what he's making. And listen, I'll be hard on myself. I was a little concerned about this game because of the guys that missed due to holdout, due to injuries, but they didn't miss a beat. They're the class of the NFC. I'm not worried about the Lions or Rams. Come on, Gager. Like, they looked so good last night. No CMC, and we'll get to all the fantasy and betting surrounding CMC, but CMC misses the game. Mason comes in, doesn't miss a beat, Gager. Just outstanding. Listen, with Kyle Shanahan's offense, I've seen it with so many different running backs. It's the system. Like, you're always going to have success because he's so brilliant at calling plays.
Yeah, no, it was a masterful game by San Francisco. They basically put it on cruise control at the end there. The one you could tell a little bit though, Hernan, with I think it was the second quarter. Purdy went like just a perfect pass to the back corner of the end zone, goes through the hands of Ayuk. That's not happening that much more this season, But there, you could probably say you could see a little bit of the rust of not having those reps during training camp and things like that. But other than that, man, it's scary to think that that's just scratching the surface of this team, right? With the amount of holdouts, and once they get really rolling here, and then when. I don't know what's the deal with McCaffrey. Like, now I'm hearing that it's going to be more than a couple games, or
sounds like it. It's a quick turnaround. They play on turf, so I think and with the performance of Mason, I don't think you have to rush him back here. There's no way. And you brought up Ayuk, who looked rusty, and I know Peyton Manning on their broadcast with his brother there. He was calling him out for saying, like, you get to camp, and this is why you need training camp. And then Trent Williams had to leave for a few series. I think it was only one for an IV because he missed all of camp as well.
Yeah.
But this team, when they get all these guys going, and the defense, Gager, is just outstanding. So very impressed. The time of possession, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, we can all sit here and say, yeah, he was just okay, but they were barely on the field. And I like what the Niners did. They pulled a Belichick because he likes to get the ball late in the second quarter, run it out, and then they have, knowing he has the ball coming in the second half, and then the offense doesn't see it for a while. So I love that strategy, and it's a good start. They're going to go up against Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings in week 2. But let's get to Jordan Mason here, 147 yards and 1 touchdown. But the big story of the night is his on-field post-game interview where they asked him, when did you know you were going to play? He said Friday, Gager. And then he goes back and they do the podium style. And he goes, this is why I hate media. You guys, you turn everything and say, but they asked you a question, you responded. And that upset a lot of people, especially the bettors and the fantasy football, all the people that indulge in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And look, we don't know what the conversation was. It might have been, you know what, stay ready. You might play this game. You're not, as a coach, maybe there wasn't the full, you're going to play. We won't know exactly what that is. But NFL's big business, and betting is a monster. And when you have these little things, to have to be on your toes and realize those types of questions are might affect you in some way, or fines coming is it's kind of silly to me, right? But I guess obviously most people are going to have CMAC on their team, and going into fantasy and doing all these things, and it can affected a lot of people. If online, it was funny how many people were so mad after that. Oh yeah, Friday. It just blip, blip, blip. It just went absolutely nuts. But
and I get it, Gager. There's a lot of money involved here with the NFL, but Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, the coaches, the players, they don't care. They're trying to win They're not win jobs. Sorry, they're trying to win games and go to the Super Bowl. That's the only thing they care about. So I understand it. Trust me. I don't play fantasy NFL anymore, so I'm not there. I do a little sprinkling on a few bets here and there, but
yeah.
To get that upset, these guys are not worried about that. And like you said, Shanahan maybe said, "Hey man, you might have to go on Monday. Just be ready." Maybe that's what he told them on Friday.
Yeah,
he wouldn't elaborate after at the podium. He just said, "Next question."
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards that was how that conversation went, Hernan. That he just said, be ready. You might be going in. So leave it at that.
How about us on the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay that you, Dusty and Maddie? Oh boy, we hit that one early with Breece Hall touchdown. Aaron Rodgers, you knew with the time of possession once you were in that third quarter that it was going to be unlikely he was going to hit 250 yards passing. So we were good on that one. The one that I was sweating was George Kittle. 39.5. We needed him to surpass that. He finished with 40 yards, 0.5. And it was a late pass in the third quarter, and it was for 2 yards. And I'm like, please just get to 40. And he did. And then he didn't see the ball again. So we got kind of lucky there. But I'm glad I sprinkled a little bit on that, Gager, because I made some nice coin there.
Some nice scratch at plus 600. Hey, Hernan, that was nice to see. I guess we're savants now. Next weekend, we got to come up with something else. Jeez.
Yeah, the pressure's on now because we won off this one. Next Monday, I'm going to follow you guys once again and go there as well. PFF's highest graded quarterbacks for week 1. You know who was number 1, Gager? You just said his name.
Oh, did I say Purdy?
Brock Purdy.
Oh, Brock.
Followed by Sam Darnold and then Patrick Mahomes. So Sam Darnold was with the Niners last year. He was Brock Purdy's backup, actually. But Brock Purdy, again, and I'm biased, obviously, but this is a guy that doesn't get a lot of respect, but he makes some killer throws. Like you brought the one, the throw to Ayuk. That was
unreal. Yeah.
Like you couldn't place that any better. And if Brandon Ayuk doesn't miss camp, he probably hauls that in for a nice touchdown. But the Niners look good. I think the Jets will bounce back, Gager. I think Aaron Rodgers looked good enough. He made some nice throws. He had some nice reads. He looked very frustrated on a few plays, like always shaking the head and all that. And all with the fumble. But I think there's something there with that team.
Yeah, you're always looking at body language too, right? And guys' expressions on their face. And I think there was obviously disappointment on Aaron Rodgers' face, but it wasn't. I think he realized this is game 1, right? There's where you get like a veteran presence that's like, okay, we're losing this one, and we'll take what we need from it, but we got to move on. And it was a time to kind of not to beat people down, but bring people up and get ready for the next game. So that's encouraging because that's what you want from him, right? You're not getting 10 years ago Aaron Rodgers. You're getting a lot more intangibles with him on your team, and still quite effective quarterback.
And I like how everybody was watching the fourth play of the game. And you know what happened on the fourth play? The fumble. They're like, It's a little bit disastrous for the Jets, but not as bad as it was a year ago. But the Niners pick up the 32-19 win, 1-0. They'll take on the Vikings on Sunday morning. A lot of NHL news to get to. The Oilers were back on the ice. I saw Nugent Hopkins was there. Ty Emberson, the much talked about Ty Emberson as well. We're going to hear from Conor McDavid in the second hour as he met with the media. And then it's being rumored, Travis Dermott. Is it Dermott or Dermott?
I thought it was Dermott, but
I was looking at a few clips, and it was he kept saying Travis Dermott. So we'll go with that. But a left shot defenseman, only 27 years old. He's played on 3 teams, played with the Maple Leafs, played with the Canucks, last year with the Arizona Coyotes. I mean, not a guy that puts up a lot of points. That's not, if you do end up signing him off to PTO, why he's here. But again, a left shot Gager. It's a PTO. I don't want to get too in depth because he might be here for the preseason, play a bunch of games, but in the end, I mean, it's just for me. You need more righties than lefties. This is kind of whatever to me. Like if he comes, plays well, he's going to be a 7-8. He's not going to play in your top 6.
I know they're not quite unicorns, but somewhat like it with right shot defenseman in the NHL. It seems like everything goes in waves.
Yeah.
But I mean, Emberson obviously shoots right. That's the first thing that caught my eye when they got him. Okay,
yeah.
that kind of I do like the lefty righty matchups, right? I think that really helps being on your forehand. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, there's 3 lefties right now with Kulak, Darnell, Ekholm. But yeah, you need to find, and maybe Emberson is that guy to play with Nurse, right? We don't know that yet. But Dermott, he can play both sides from what I was looking at today already. But I think that if the coaching staff, could draw it up perfectly in the whiteboards in the coach's room, they'd have lefty righty on each of the 3 pairings for the Edmonton Oilers defensemen.
And this is planning for, let's just say, knock on wood, an injury to that left side. And it is a guy that has NHL experience and that can play. I mean, 50 games last year with Arizona, as I mentioned earlier. But that's why I don't get too high on PTOs. I wish I had a list of all the PTOs the Oilers have signed in the last 10 years and see, like, obviously Chason's on the top of that list. He kind of stuck it out. I know our nasty listeners will send us a bunch more that come in that helped the Oilers, because Chason wasn't a game changer or anything like that, but he did see time on the first unit power play, did score some goals and all that. But for me, Travis Dermott, he's going to play those first 4 or 5 preseason games, so they don't have to play the regular guys. But for me, this is just a 7-8 guy that's going to maybe hang around, maybe for that first month too. We've seen that before, Gager, right? Where the guys don't sign right away and just stay in the city and kind of hang out just to make sure there's no injuries or anything like that.
Yeah, and we were talking about just rookie camp on 2 guys, and I mean, there's not a lot of names that pop off the page, but obviously the one on the back end is Bo Akey, right? I think if I probably will, but I'll watch some preseason, I promise. But the ISO cam's going to be on him, right? Yeah. I'm going to watch how he moves, how he negotiates everything with. Sometimes in preseason too, you're not playing against regular NHLers. It can get a little bit scrambly. I want to see how he skates. That first pass is always, that's how I can always kind of predict how the game is going to proceed for the Oilers. If that crisp first pass to get out of the zone. Look, if there's the forwards are pretty much log jammed, right? If you're a young forward coming to Edmonton, the mindset in this camp is not only trying to open the eyes of the Edmonton Oilers staff and coaching staff, but possibly open eyes all over the league with good play throughout the preseason, right? Because the chances of making this team at the forward position without any significant injuries is going to be quite difficult. The only keyholes I see for guys is maybe on the back end where you can maybe crowbar your way in there and hopefully play at a level that catches the eye of someone, and you can maybe stick around to game one of 82, right? That's what you want to do. Dylan Holloway was amazing at this. He was lights, like he was Mr. Preseason. Like he made sure that he made sure he was around game one, right? He made the
and that's all you have to do.
Yeah. Make the decisions difficult for the coaching staff to send you down. That's what minor leaguers, we'd all tell ourselves that, right? Make it very tough on them.
Yeah, I know for sure. And there's a few signings around the league. There's some rumblings, some rumors, and all that. And we'll get to that with Dave Pagnotta coming up next from the fourth period. This is EST Afternoons coming to you live from the William Huff Studios here in the west end of the city. It's Salas, it's Gager, it's Kubusch. Coming up next, Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period. But first, here's a sports update with Zach.
Tyreek Hill's agent Drew Rosenhaus says that the Miami police officers who arrested Hill should be fired. The Miami Dolphins superstar was detained Sunday morning for traffic violations on his way to the field, but was released, making it in time for kickoff. Rosenhaus believes that, quote, the officers that did that to Tyreek shouldn't be in that position. They should be let go. And that, quote, they did not treat him right or like a human being. Tyreek Hill is set to speak Wednesday for the first time since the body cam footage of the incident has been released. Former Oiler Tyson Barrie has been invited for a professional tryout with the Calgary Flames. The 33-year-old defenseman has had 15 points in 41 appearances for the Predators last season. Dana White says that he won't book another lightweight championship fight as the champ, Islam Makhachev, has been sidelined with an injury. Number one ranked lightweight who is set to fight against Makhachev, Arman Zarukian, was set to face the champ on the 26th of October in Abu Dhabi. Once Makhachev recovers, the rematch is reported to be made for early next year. I'm Zachary Kubusch, and you're up to date on Edmonton Sports Talk. And just coming up after the break, we'll be back with EST Afternoons. David Pagnotta from the fourth period joining Hernan and Gager to talk about some NHL rumors.
Only $4.99 is a limited time price. Available at participating A&W restaurants in Greater Edmonton.
If you've been injured in a car collision, let James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, protect your interests. They'll be there every step of the way to help answer your questions and help you get your life back on track. Trust Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, call James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, 780-428-0088, or go to jameshbrown.com.
Get ready, Edmonton. The moment you've been waiting for is here. It's time to celebrate the best of the best with the Esties, as we honor everything from Edmonton Sports Talk's incredible first year. Join us on September 17th at Metro Cinema for an unforgettable night of excitement, laughter, and recognition. Tickets are just $10. Secure your spot by emailing matt@edmontonsportstalk.com. And after the show, let's keep the party going at Hudson's White Ave for the official after party. Mark your calendar, grab your tickets, and get ready to celebrate the best moments of EST. It's the Esties, September 17th.
And if
6:04 Tuesday afternoon, EST afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. We're just ahead of Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period. Some text here regarding Mr. Mason from the 49ers. Scalding Gord says, I hate that people are taking away from the guy's big moment for something he isn't responsible for. Give the guy his moment. Complain later. And then Stamp Hater on the bet. He says, it's pretty amazing that NFL coaches have to deal with anything betting related. That's just to the story of CMC being a very late scratch yesterday. But I mean, again, I think they don't really care. I get the frustration from fantasy players and the bettors out there because it is a big money grab for the NFL as well. There's a lot of that involved, but it's going to happen from time to time. I'm sure the NFL is going to say something to the 49ers for that, but yeah, it's just a very interesting situation. We were talking Travis Dermott here as it sounds like the Oilers might be bringing him in on a PTO, 27-year-old left shot defenseman. There's rumors of Pacioretty going to Toronto, maybe on a PTO, maybe he's being signed. They did sign Nick Robertson as well this morning. He was holding out. There's rumblings on that player as well too that he might they might move him even before the season starts. And the big one, well, not the big one, but Adam Larson re-ups with the Seattle Kraken. He loves it there. He chose to go there, when the Oilers were trying to keep him and needed all the help defensively. He signs a 4-year deal worth $21 million. That's a cap hit of 5.25. His expiring 4-year contract signed with the Kraken in 2021 has a cap hit of $4 million. So I do think they're getting some good value here for this player, Gager. I mean, Adam Larson, I know a lot of Oiler fans were targeting him as a trade deadline acquisition this season, but Adam Larson didn't want to leave. He loves Seattle. He's become a really stay-at-home, steady defenseman for that team, and it's a good deal for them.
Oh, unreal deal. I'm a little bit surprised that people thought that there was a chance that Adam Larson would come back to Edmonton. He said it. That unfortunate. His dad came and passed away while he came to Edmonton. It sounded like he was, him and his father were really, really close, and it rocked him. And just going back home, the constant reminder of your dad. And hey, when we lose a loved ones. Everyone knows the value of a fresh start. And he's, although, gosh, he would look good on the Oilers back end. He would look so good. And I understand everyone's pain, but it's not going to happen. I wish that guy all the best. I love the battles when you watch the Kraken play against the Oilers. Like, he plays everyone hard, and you can see the banter between McDavid and Larson at times in the corner and giving it to one another with a little slide wink and stuff. I love stuff like that. So it's unfortunate he's not an Oiler anymore, but I think that's it for the pipe dream of Adam Larson ever returning to the Oilers blue and orange.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because in his time as Edmonton, I remember he had a really good first year and a very good last year. And like you mentioned, Gager there, he went through a lot here, the injury, the loss of his father and all that. And I'm with you. I didn't have it high on the list of Oiler targets. So for me, I mean, this is where he wanted to be, and I don't think the Oilers were ever going to be in on that. So looks like we have Dave Pagnotta ready to go here, Zach. Perfect. Dave Pagnotta joins us now from the fourth period. Dave, thank you for taking the time once again to join us. We got some signings, some PTOs, some rumblings going around the NHL. Let's start in Toronto. Max Pacioretty, it's being rumored that he might sign a PTO with the Toronto Maple Leafs, or he's just going to straight out sign. What's the latest on Max Pacioretty and the Toronto Maple Leafs?
You talk to both sides. Max Pacioretty is unofficially a Leaf. He will be. So he's going to jump on. They're just finalizing the actual terms of the contract. Now, they've got about $400,000 in cap space, guys. So they've got some maneuvering to do. Now, I'm told that regardless of whether or not they make a trade and move out money, Max Pacioretty will be a Leaf this season. So it's just a matter of, they're obviously trying to fine-tune a few things. They have the option to send a couple guys down to the A. And they're not, even though they agreed to a deal, a one-year contract with Nick Robertson today, they're not ruling out the possibility of trading him. He's still very much out there on the block. So is Connor Timmins on the back end. He's got a $1.1 million cap hit. They also have Steven Lorentz that they brought in on a PTO. So they've got a little bit of juggling that they're likely to make between now and the start of the regular season. But I mean, all signs point to Max Pacioretty being a Maple Leaf this season. I think him and his family are on their way to Toronto, so it's pretty much a formality at this point.
David, the Nicholas Robertson kind of, I don't want to say fiasco, but here was a young player asking to be moved out of Toronto. Then we see that he signs. Was there a little bit of possible sourness between him and the Maple Leafs organization? I was actually quite surprised that he signed this deal. And if he did, like you said, is this probably going to mean that Robertson is on the move somewhere else to free up cap space?
It makes it easier, Gager, to have him moved out with at least a contract under his belt. But the Leafs are working on something. I know that for sure. I've spoken to a number of people around the league since this morning. They've got at least one trade that they're working on. Now, whether that happens today or in a week or two or whatnot, maybe it fizzles and doesn't happen. But they're working on something, I can tell you that with certainty right now, in trying to free up some space. Now, as I mentioned, Robertson is out there. There's still the possibility that he gets moved. But at this point, it was more of a, all right, let's get this out of the way. We know you'd like an opportunity elsewhere. We've got in a new coach. We're bringing in a new system. If you do stick around, you're going to be given an opportunity to likely play third-line minutes with this team. And depending how you do, maybe we'll bump you up as the season progresses. That's up to Craig Berube. But again, they're also, Brad Treliving and management are also engaged in trade talks involving Robertson, Timmins, possibly a couple others, to try to free up space and dollars. So I think overall, moving out a contract that's under contract and filed is a lot easier than moving out a guy with ambiguity that's tied to his deal. So it just makes things a little bit easier in the process, whether he's traded or not. He'll have a shot. And if he performs well and still wants out, it just makes it easier to move an asset that's actually doing decently versus the unknown.
David, the Seattle Kraken re-upped with Adam Larsson on a 4-year deal. This was always the play for Adam Larsson, right? This is where he wants to be.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Once they made the move, or he made the move there once they figured everything out, or right around that expansion draft, and brought him into the fold. It was pretty much, if he likes it, he can end his career as a member of the Kraken. So this solidifies it. They kind of came to terms last night, filed the contract this morning, 4-year deal at $5.25 per. Got some no trade protection as part of that. But from Seattle's perspective, they wanted to build a team that is sound on the blue line and is responsible defensively. They've got to add a little bit more from the offensive side of things, and that's what Ron Francis would like to do over the course of the season, depending on where they are from a playoff competitive standpoint. But locking in Larson to an extension was obviously and definitely a priority for Seattle, and they managed to get it done. I think it just kind of basically over the weekend, they firmed everything up and filed it this morning.
David, you mentioned securing on the back end. There's no looking here in Edmonton. That's been kind of the talk of the last few weeks for sure. We see that Travis Dermott is likely going to be signing a PTO with the team. But there's also these rumblings that you hear of there's big moves, and you rarely see a big splash right at the beginning of the season, I think, unless it's kind of like a disgruntled guy wanting out and they move him before the regular season starts. What are you hearing with the Edmonton Oilers? Are they looking to start the season like this, or are they, if all possible, are they going to try to booster up that back end?
Something's got to fall into their lap in order for that to happen. And right now, that would have to happen starting, at some point today. And they're not there yet. I think, with the moves that they made this summer with, moving out, CC to San Jose, bringing in somebody the coach is familiar with, Dermott possibility as a depth defenseman. They talked to others. They talked to Tyson Barrie. They talked to a few others about, that PTO / depth role. But where they're at with their cap situation and just with their roster, they wanted to have a little bit of flexibility going into the season. So unless something happens, again, between, basically this minute and October 8th, or 4th, I guess, when the season starts overseas, this is pretty much the blue line that's going to be, I guess, going for the start of the season. That doesn't mean they're not going to continue to look, and that doesn't mean they're looking right now and at least getting some options available to them. We know that there are some players that are available that it's, unless all the stars align at this point, those conversations, you start them now, you check in as the season progresses, and then you have an understanding where a team is. If they start to fizzle, you try to pounce. And I think that's the primary objective for Stan Bowman and management in terms of bringing in somebody that can be an impact addition to the blue line. Kind of like, and I'm not suggesting this caliber player, but when they brought in Matthias Ekholm, that kind of shaped or reshaped a little bit of the blue line in terms of how they were able to play. Somebody, a veteran like that, maybe not at that caliber, but I could certainly see that being a target in terms of type of player that they would look to bring in. But that's more likely to be something that would happen later on in the season. Again, unless, something the Montreal Canadiens call the Edmonton Oilers and say, here's David Savard, we'll eat half his deal and take a 6th-round pick. Unless barring something like that, those types of moves more likely to occur closer to the deadline.
We love out here in Edmonton, David, talking about line combinations way before the season starts.
Never, you know what? I never would have guessed that. Never.
Just with your crystal ball, Max Pacioretty, where would you see him? Where does he fit into this lineup, and who do you think are his line mates if starting game 1 of 82?
For Toronto, look, they wanted to bring in somebody on the left side. The Leafs were also looking kind of at center, because if they brought in somebody that can slot in either on a 2 or 3 line, you can move John Tavares to the wing. You can even move Max Domi to the wing. But I would imagine they're going to see how he does at camp, and if he can play at a pace that fits the winger on Tavares' line, so whether it's Nylander or Marner, however they're going to position that, then maybe Max gets that opportunity on the second line. More likely that mid-6 role, probably on the third line with Max Domi as center, and then take your pick right now on who they have on the other side. You want to mix in the offense, but you also want to be aware of keeping up speed-wise. And Patches has lost a step or two. He's still got that the eye for the net, and he still has a solid shot. So he's your finisher on that line, but you've got to get him the puck. He's not going to be the one rushing that up the ice. So in a complementary role, you're likely looking at a third line potential, unless he starts to feel it. He goes on a heater. You move him up with more responsibility, a little more ice time.
David Pagnotta from the fourth period joining us here on EST Afternoons. One last one for you, David. What's the latest on Yanni Hakanpää? Like, I know he's being rumored to the Leafs. He was earlier this summer. What's the latest on that situation?
Yeah, they've agreed to a deal. This goes back to July 1, or I guess, yes, let's go with July 1 because nobody's allowed to talk before that. It's just health. It's just a matter of how healthy he is. He's got some things that have been nagging, so that's why that contract, it's pretty much there. It's just never been registered and filed. So it sounds like it's going to get there, and he'll be that addition to the blue line that the Leafs have been looking for. And likely why they haven't made any other moves beyond the moves that they already made earlier on in the summer, by bringing in a third pair or depth type of defenseman. But this also goes into what they need to do in terms of creating additional space. It definitely sounds like Connor Timmins won't be on the Leafs this season. So he's either going to be traded or he's going to be moved down to the Marlies in the A. That gives them that $1.1 million flexibility that they can use because it's under, I guess, the floor or ceiling or whatever it is in terms of the cap relief. But they've got a few different, like I said, they've got some irons in the fire. They're working on at least one thing right now. Hakanpää is expected to join the club, and they've got the framework of the deal. It's just a matter, they were waiting to make sure his health is up to speed. It sounds like it's there. Now it's kind of like in that Pacioretty mold where it's going to happen, but let's just see if they can get some other deals done in the meantime to make life a little bit easier.
David, thank you for taking the time this afternoon to join us. It's going to pick up here. Rookie camps kick off this weekend. I know the Oilers rookies check in for medicals tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll be talking soon. All the best, and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, David.
That's David Pagnotta from the fourth period joining us here on EST Afternoons, and the Leafs making some noise today. I know Lars is not a big fan of this. He says on the nasty chat, Pacioretty to the Leafs, ha ha. Amazing how they keep trying to keep careers going and it just leads to failure. Gager, do you like this move? Like, it does seem like the Leafs always do this. They bring in one older guy that, it's past his prime, and they're just going to give him 1 year deal and hope it works out. Like, I mean, I don't think he's going to hurt them, but I don't know how much he's going to give them.
Look, I like Max Pacioretty. I think he's a serviceable player. The thing that gives me the greatest pause is the injuries, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this guy's been injured a lot. And like David said, he's lost a step. He still has that ability to score goals and score from distance, I think, but he's not going to be the guy diving and bombing into the corner, grabbing the puck and getting it out for someone, right? He's going to be circling like the great white in the slot, trying to get pucks on net. So, yeah, it's who knows. Sometimes a quick spark. This is the second time around with an original 6 team. He's no stranger to it.
Yeah.
It's I mean, the Leafs have a very exciting forward group right there. It's just, I don't know about the rest of the team.
It's gonna be interesting. And like I said, the rumblings, everything's picking up here. Oilers rookies check in tomorrow for fitness and medical testing and all that, and then they play Friday, Saturday, and I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Monday there for the rookie tournament. A lot of eyes on that. We're going to get to that in the next segment, but I like this one from Gene's Apprentice. Just joined. Looks like Gager just cracked the safe after dodging 50 laser beams. Our man Gager's toughing it out. It's his flu game as he's a little under the weather. Kudos to Gager for not coming in and getting the rest of the boys sick. Gager, hopefully it's not too long. It's not like a 2-3 day thing. Hopefully it's just a 24-hour bug that you got here.
You wouldn't see LeBron if doing stuff like this.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. All right, that's Dave Pagnotta who joined us to talk some NHL. Coming up next, we will look at the Oilers rookie camp roster, and we'll continue to talk some Edmonton Oilers. We got some lines from Tony Brar from the Edmonton Oilers, and it's very early. I can't believe we're going to do this, but yeah, let's just have some fun with it. That's all coming up next here on EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. Coming up now, Zach Kubusch with a sports update.
Tyreek Hill's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, says that the Miami police officers who arrested Hill should be fired. The Miami Dolphins superstar wide receiver was detained Sunday morning for traffic violations on his way to the field, but was released, making it in time for kickoff. Rosenhaus believes that, quote, the police officers that did that to Tyreek shouldn't be in that position. They should be let go, end quote. Tyreek is set to speak Wednesday for the first time since the body cam footage has been released. Former Oiler Tyson Barrie has been invited for a professional tryout with the Calgary Flames. The 33-year-old defenseman had 15 points in 41 appearances for the Predators last season. The Blue Jays look to bounce back tonight against the Mets after dropping their first game of the set 3-2 yesterday. First pitch goes just after 5, and UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev is out with an injury, meaning that his match against Arman Zarukian is postponed. Dana White says that he will not make an interim fight, and once Makhachev recovers, the rematch will take place early next year. I'm Zachary Kubusch with your Edmonton Sports Talk update, and after the break, Hernan and Gager will be joined by John Hodge from the Third Down Nation to talk some CFL. We'll be right back with that here on EST Afternoons.
Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Why tee off at the Ranch Golf and Country Club?
A fun, unique layout offering premier conditions. The Ranch has been ranked as one of the top public courses in Canada.
Unmatched value. Score Golf Magazine rated the Ranch as the best value in Edmonton.
The service, from tournaments to special events to the pro shop. Superior service that makes every visit exceptional.
The Ranch Golf and Country Club, a laid-back environment where anyone can enjoy an amazing day on the fairways. For details, visit theranchgolf.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as newborn 8-pound, 6-ounce Mitch Lewicki. You can picture grown-up Mitch, or teenage Mitch, or bearded Mitch, or whoever you want.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road. Park Mazda does.
Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
EST Afternoons, Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage, Zach Kubusch behind the camera here. Just talked to Dave Pagnotta. Pacioretty looks like he's going to the Maple Leafs, and the nasty chat is having fun with that. Mocking the Leafs, as they usually do here in the good old city of Edmonton. Shout out to my boys at the Elks watching. A few of them, one of them's texting me right now. So shout out to the boys. Thanks for having us on. Cheers. Gager. Oilers rookie camp roster. Any names stand out?
No.
Listen, I'll say it like this. I'm looking at the roster, and there's one name that pops. It's Matt Savoy, and it's good for this kid too. He's going to get a few games in. He's going to get his legs under him. He's going to go, into the main camp ready to go. I know Sam Gagner did this back in the day, but there's a lot of interesting names, but none that are going to make the push this year outside of Matt Savoy.
No, I don't think you'll see anyone else. But this is an opportunity, right? We were talking about showing what you got in the preseason. He's a different type of player. Dusty calling the games in the WHL finals referred to Matt Savoy as shifty, right? To have that shifty skill set, being able to lose guys in tight spaces. Not a big guy by any means, but a distributor of the puck. And it's been a while since the Oilers had another type of player that played like this, or a top prospect that played like this, right? But if there's anyone that has an outside shot of possibly making it, I think that you have to look at Matt Savoy. I'd be playing him almost every single preseason game. Yeah. He's playing every game, every single game. Maybe not at least seven. At least 7 is what I would like to see from him. And then I look at Bo Akey too. I want to see what that another top prospect on the back end's like after the loss of Boroberg, and the cupboards are bare, right? So it'll be interesting to watch and see if the progression of some of these guys, and maybe there is a diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Yeah, like Bo Akey is the big name there, but he's not close. I look at a Sam O'Reilly who was drafted this year. He's having a good preseason, but Brady Stonehouse, who I know was hurt for a bit last year, he was always in Eric's injury report for the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs, so they always had fun with that. But I'm with you. I think Matt Savoy's the one here, and he's getting a lot of reps, so he's ready for main camp. He's a guy that could crack this lineup right away. If not, he'll start in the A and then make his way up. Very talented guy. I know a lot of people love that trade for the Edmonton Oilers with the Buffalo Sabres. Gager, do you watch these games? Like, do they interest you, or do you chime in for like a period just to see what Matt Savoy is going to do?
Most of the time I look at the visiting roster to see what because a lot of times you look at the home team or the away team. The home team usually dresses a few more of regulars, I find.
Yeah.
And then on the road, it's because most of the regulars don't want to go on extra road trips throughout the year. So a lot of them stay home, right? But those are the games that interest me because those are the young guys going up against a more veteran lineup and see how they respond to it. The physical play, the speed. The one thing you notice almost immediately in all those games is when a young player like Matt Savoy goes up into the face-off dot against like Lowry, right? Like it's a different world when that happens all of a sudden. And you're like, oh my gosh, and they're snapping it back, and puck possession's a big thing. So just those little types of details, where they go on the ice. So I'll watch a bit, buddy. I'm sure I will, but am I going to be fully vested into it? Probably not. But the away games interested me way more than the home ones do.
Yeah, the Oilers rookie will open the Young Stars tourney on Friday at 8:30. That's Edmonton time against the Vancouver Canucks. They'll take on the Calgary Flames rookies on Saturday at 8:30. And then it is Monday, Winnipeg Jets at 12 p.m. If you want to check those out, you can watch them on Oilers Plus. Matt Savoy is the big name there. We'll see what he can do. I mean, he should dominate at this tournament. I was going to call you Matty Joaquin because he's just... I mean, he came back to junior last year. But what I'm saying, he does have the pro experience. And I know the other teams will have a few guys like that, but I'm expecting big things from Matt Savoy. I'll probably chime into one game and a couple periods here and there just to see Matt Savoy and maybe a few of the others and see how they stick out. And then you see which guys get invited to the main camp, right? That's the next step.
Yeah, that's where you really, the rubber hits the road for a lot of these guys. And I mean, it's and I don't know, it's probably not paper up in the dressing rooms anymore. They probably got alerts to their phones now. But back in the day, that was the best, man. Every guy walking past the list of guys and seeing who you're on the ice with, and oh my God, I'm on the ice with Conor McDavid. I made the team, or oh, Conor's not with me. I'm going back to junior. Like it's hilarious, the mind games that you play with yourself for a young player going to camp. But no, it's an exciting time for a lot of these guys. It's I find myself around this time of year missing it. You know, you're usually getting ready for something big to happen, and it's the most wonderful time of the year, aside from Christmas.
Gager, in your time, did you guys do the rookie camps?
Yeah, but they were. It was a little bit different. Like we had a summer camp where we came in early, and then we just went straight into main camp. But it was so segregated. It was junior guys and minor league guys that practiced, and then the big dogs came out, practiced, and then they played, and then they got off the ice, and we went back out and played at that point, right? So once in a while, you'd get called up to the big game. And that was always great, right? Then you'd play with all the NHLers and stuff like that. But no, it's a nerve-wracking time, buddy. It's a nerve-wracking time. But hopefully Bo Akey can kind of separate himself from the rest and really establish himself as a guy that the Oilers need to look at.
I remember this was years ago, like when Justin Schultz was signed by the Edmonton, which dating myself here, but I remember the Oilers used to have like one practice in the morning, one in the afternoon. It was like almost, and it wasn't a split squad. Like we'd go watch the morning session, we'd go for lunch somewhere to come back for the afternoon session. I don't do that anymore, but it's crazy to see how the times have changed in terms of training and the practices leading up to the season.
Well, yeah. I mean, I hated that. I'd like to just get there and get it all done with, right? Like it was okay to just have like a quick practice and then play an inter squad game. That was perfect. But when you had to come back afterwards, you know, because you're thinking about it the whole day and the game's coming up and you're trying to prepare, you're sitting in the hotel waiting. It sucks. It really sucks, but fun at the same time.
Yeah, the big club hit the ice again, and Tony Brar did tweet it out. He's from the Edmonton Oilers, does great work there, and he said, take it, you know, for what it's worth. But he had some lines, and I'm a little ashamed to be doing this, Gage. I'm not going to lie, because it's September 10th. I mean, we haven't even hit the real practices yet, but look, just for fun, the first line's intact. Nugent Hopkins, Conor McDavid, and Zach Hyman. And then kind of what we talked about yesterday, because I said I didn't really like Dusty's line with Savoy in the second line, Arvidsson on the third, but it's the two new wingers, Skinner and Arvidsson with Leon Draisaitl. I mean, for me, if I'm a betting man, I think that's how they start. We'll wait and see what training camp brings in the preseason, because someone might surprise and Arvidsson or Skinner might fit with a better centerman. But for now, you got to like these two lines for the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah,
I mean, they're not set in stone by any stretch of the imagination.
No, God,
no. We were talking about it earlier. It's interesting to have Leon out there with two new players, right? Looking for something that's there. How do you think Leon approaches this with two new guys? Do you think he's excited about it? Do you think it's sometimes, you've already had chemistry with other players?
Yeah, I think Leon fits with more players than McDavid does, just because McDavid's so fast and out of this world talent. Like, I think it's harder to play with McDavid, where Leon's just, you've seen him play with so many different players, and for the most part, it always works. And now he's got two shooters. It's interesting because he's a wicked passer. Like, his backhand is probably better than a lot of guys' forehand passes. But now he's got two shooters and two guys that can dish it. So I'm intrigued to see the chemistry. I know it looks so sexy right now, Gager, but sometimes it just doesn't click, right? And it might be Skinner moved off that line or Arvidsson. But for me, if there's one guy that can handle two new players on the wings, it's Leon Draisaitl. So I'm very intrigued to see. And then, I mean, there's so many options. You can move Kane up. I mean, Matt Savoy is a wild card right now. I know a lot of Oiler fans are high on Raphael Lavoie. I just don't see the big guy getting a shot this year again, unless there's a ton of injuries. But if you're looking at the Oilers' top six, it's pretty damn sexy. Even I know people are a little worried about the bottom six because of the speed, of the pace they might play at. But I mean, you brought back Yarmark, who's not fast. Perry, Derek Ryan's a little guy, gets around pretty well. But I'm not concerned at all by the forward group. It's the D group that I'm more concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, you can take that so-called bottom six and make up a pretty solid third line. I think that a lot of teams would be envious of.
Yeah.
The speed does give maybe a little bit of pause, but I think with the overall experience that you have with those guys, I think that can be overcome at times. I mean, they're not the fleetest of foot, but they're not completely slow either, right? Like,
yeah,
Brown's pretty quick. From what I remember about Podkolzin, he can get
I keep forgetting
pretty good.
Yeah, Vasily.
Adam Henrique, another type of smart, shifty player, like, finds the right areas. So, and who knows? Like, there's going to be mixing and matching throughout this lineup, and you still have Evander Kane, right? So I don't think he's been on the ice, right? We were trying to find out if he's been on the ice at all. So I guess just complete speculation. Is he just waiting for the season to start and then getting the surgery that's required? Is that?
Yeah, this one says, do you guys think that the Edmonton Oilers can steal Tyson Barrie away from the Calgary Flames PTO, just like the Flames stole Chris Versteeg from the Oilers years ago? That's from Barrie the Cheater.
I wrote back to Barrie. Yeah.
I think if the Oilers want it, I think if there was a choice between Calgary and Edmonton, Tyson Barrie would have chose Edmonton.
Yeah, but then you look at the cap situation, right? I think Calgary has upwards of 19 million in cap space, whereas the Oilers are 900,000 or roughly in there. So, and when you look at that back end in Calgary, I think the opportunity for Tyson Barrie to be, I would say, kind of a regular defenseman is a lot higher than if he would probably the similar roles that he would fit into. I think kind of that 7-8 guy that can, if something ever did happen to Bouchard, you could always. He's done it before to huge success to be on that power play, right? So, but I think Tyson Barrie. quite optimistic that he'll sign as a Calgary Flame this year. And the boys can always just go to Kathleen Alley and hang out, right?
Yeah, and they also signed Jared Tenorti, another depth guy. So it seems like Calgary's just loading up on some veteran guys to see what sticks there outside of their big three of Rasmus Anderson, Uyghur, and I know I'm missing one here. Who's the other one here?
Miro Madoff, Jake Bean.
The guy they got from Vegas, right? Miromanov.
Yeah.
That's the guy there.
That's the guy there.
A few messages on the nasty chat. Gene's Apprentice says, dry is like a semi. Arvidsson is a little BMW, darts around, but always in the garage getting fixed. And that's a big concern with the Oilers and Arvidsson is that he can't stay healthy, but knock on wood, hopefully he's good to go and can play in more games than he has in the past few years. And this one from Penner's Pancake says, more players can probably adapt better to 29. The fourth center slot is a tad concerning. I don't think it is, Gager.
I mean, what are your concerns?
Are we all of a sudden not high on Derek Ryan anymore?
I think Derek Ryan is completely serviceable. You know, he's the guy that, like, you don't want Savoy sitting in the press box, right?
No.
So if push comes to shove, it's Derek Ryan sitting up there eating popcorn. You know, you want your young guys progressing, getting better. So, no, I don't have a problem with Derek Ryan. I mean, he's not too far removed from scoring double-digit goals. Great on the PK. I think looking around the league, there's other teams that I'd be way more concerned at that fourth seed position.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with you. All right, that does it for hour number one here on the EST afternoon show. Coming up in hour two, we're going to hear from Conor McDavid, who spoke with the media following their unofficial ice time practice, whatever you want to call it. John Hodge at 2:20 from 3 Down Nation as we'll go around the CFL. So a lot of interesting stories, especially in Calgary. Today it was announced that Jake Maier was taking first-team reps for the Calgary Stampeders. So it looks like the veteran quarterback will return to his starting position, but we'll get to all that fun stuff with John Hodge. And at 2:40, of course, we'll wrap up the show and tee up the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. That's coming to you from 3 to 6 here on EST Afternoons. Up next, Conor McDavid.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of The Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
Few of us can say that we're over 60 and still hot, but Mr. Mike's Burger can. And to celebrate over 60 years of Mr. Mike's famous burger, you're invited to taste history for only $8.99 at Mike Burger Madness. Savor the original flame-grilled Mike Burger on their signature garlic French loaf for a limited time. Dine-in only price of just $8.99. Sides extra. It's Mr. Mike's Mike Burger Madness, and you'd be mad to miss it. Offer ends September 30th. Eat locally, enjoy casually. Edmonton Sports Talk delivers a mass audience of key, influential customers to your business, all while you associate your company brand with the biggest names, the hottest sports news, and teams from every league around the globe. Oilers and Elks, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the association, Formula One, soccer, golf. Oh, sweet mama! The excitement is palatable on Edmonton Sports Talk. It's where fans go to get their sports fix and where our partners find the most loyal consumers. Contact us today and see how our team on Edmonton Sports Talk can score the biggest goals for your business. With various advertising options available, email business@edmontonsportstalk.com or head to our website and send a message at edmontonsportstalk.com.
Tyreek Hill's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, says that the Miami police who arrested Hill, should be fired. Miami Dolphins superstar was detained Sunday morning for traffic violations on his way to the field, but was released in time to make it for kickoff. Rosenhaus believes that, quote, the police officers that did that to Tyreek shouldn't be in that position. They should be let go, and that, quote, they didn't treat him like a human being. Tyreek Hill is set to speak with the media Wednesday for the first time since the body cam footage was released. Former Oiler Tyson Barrie has been invited for a professional tryout to the Calgary Stampeders. Or Flames. Wow. Thinking CFL. The 33-year-old defenseman had 15 points in 41 games for the Predators in the NHL last season. The Blue Jays look to bounce back against the Mets after dropping their game yesterday 3-2 against them. First pitch goes just after 5. And in the UFC, lightweight champion Islam Makhachev has been ruled out for his fight against Amran Zarukian in October. Title fight was supposed to take place on the 26th, but has been postponed with the injury. And Dana White says that he will not book an interim title fight and will wait for Makhachev to recover. And right now, it'll be Hernan and Gager talking some more Oilers, and we will hear from Captain Conor McDavid and what he had to say in his presser today. I'm Zachary Kubusch, and now you're up to date on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Hour 2 of EST afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk, static free since 23. I'm Hernan Salas, joined by Joaquin Gage, and behind the camera, Zachary Kubusch, producing the show for us today. Let's get to some comments on the nasty chat here regarding Derek Ryan, as we were talking about the concern that some fans have on the fourth line. This one comes in once again from Penner's Pancakes. Ryan can't play 82 games effectively. He is good for 40 to 50 games, but not a full season, in my opinion. That's a fair statement. I totally don't... I'm not going to disregard that. He's not probably an everyday guy, Gager, but I think the fourth line center, for the amount of minutes they get, I mean, your fourth line center is probably going to be on the PK as well. So for me, it's not a huge concern for the Edmonton Oilers.
I don't know. I mean, how many minutes a game is he playing? You know,
yeah, I mean
6, 7, maybe a little bit, maybe upwards to 10 with the PK. Could he play 82? That's a good question. I got to think about that for a sec. Obviously not. Well, I think he can get close, but there's also times of the season when things aren't going to work, right?
Yeah,
those valleys. And they, unfortunately, what happens in those times is the top guys aren't coming off, right? They're the fourth line guy is going to be taken out of the lineup to make the shift. That's just the way it is. So Derek Ryan is probably going to be a casualty, not to any fault of his own, just by the coach wanting to mix things up and have a different look, possibly in that bottom six area.
Yeah, no, definitely. Richard Croft says, what happened to good old Zachticum? He's still Zachticum, but
he picked the hardest names in the world to read. That's what Zach just did. Jesus, get some more consonants.
Those UFC names, man, some can be extremely hard. Kudos to Zach for reading those, because but Zach's a UFC guy, right?
I know. He should know these things, shouldn't he?
Well, I didn't write them down properly either. That's the thing. I wrote them out how they were supposed to sound, so I read them in a weird way. Like without the mic in front of me, I'd say it in the proper sense. But if I saw it how it's spelt, which it doesn't seem like it's pronounced, I messed myself up. That's on me. That's on me.
Hey, that's all right, buddy. I love it. I love it.
I always, back at the old station, if there was a hard name, I'd find a way around it. I'd just go with the nickname, like good old Giannis or the Greek Freak, right? I'd stay away from the last name. It wasn't very professional of me, but kudos to Zach. But Zach is still Zachticum, the Big Z. He's an absolute beauty here, and he's the new producer on our show and the Reed Wilkins show, and we'll be incorporating him a lot here as we go through the rest of this year, next year, and hopefully for many, many years to come. But let's hear from the Oilers captain as Conor McDavid met with the media today. It's the first time we've heard from him, Gager, in a very long time. Since Game 7, the devastation we saw with him and Leon Draisaitl, that's the last time we got to hear from them. He's got married over the summer. His best friend and running mate here with the Edmonton Oilers signed an 8-year deal, and I'm pretty sure he was asked about an extension as well. But here is Conor McDavid meeting with the Edmonton media today.
He just sent me a text and let me know ahead of time, and obviously it's great. I'm really happy for him and his family. Well deserved. He deserves every penny, and happy he's here for a real long time.
I don't know if anybody's super surprised about it, but I mean, there was obviously a lot of talk about it in this market and with Oilers fans for a while. Just that feeling of having it done, like knowing it's 9 more years, it's all locked up. You don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's exciting for him. It's exciting for the organization, the fans. Exciting for everybody. Something that he doesn't have to worry about. Doesn't have to answer that question or anything like that anymore, and it's good for him.
As it gets done for him, it's on the horizon for you. I know it's probably not something you want to deal with all year. What would you say about having this window where it won't be too long before you can start talking about an extension, your feelings and thoughts on being here long term? Kind of where your head's at on all that?
Yeah, it's something that I'm not going to worry about or really deal with. It's a question that I'll answer once, and that's I'm worried about this year. I'm worried about being ready for the season. Both myself personally and the group, and that's where my focus is at. It's not on anything else. That stuff takes care of itself. It's not something I'm worried about.
When you look back sort of 10 or 12 years, this organization was kind of in a dark place, and now you look at it now, you're a contender, guys are locking in for life, free agents are coming here on a discount. Can you kind of speak to the evolution of where the franchise is coming in the time that
Yeah, it's definitely changed. And changed for the better. That's a credit to a lot of people, starting with the Cates family first and foremost, and the investments they put in, not only to the downtown area and the rink and the building and everything like that, but how they treat the players. Everything is first class. We're treated real well. Take care of anything and all worries for the players, and I think guys obviously appreciate that, and it translates to success on the ice, I believe. If the players are well taken care of, they got nothing else to do other than worry about playing hockey.
For a while, this city was on a lot of teams, a lot of players' no trade list, and that seems to have changed now. This has become a destination city of the organization. What changed, and what do you feel like? Why do guys want to come here now and play here and try and win a championship?
Well, obviously winning helps, and being part of winning teams helps, goes a long way. I think obviously the building helps. You spend maybe half your time, maybe more of your time in the rink, and our building is completely first class, and again, the way we're treated is great. And I think for people that haven't experienced Edmonton, don't know Edmonton, it's really easy living. It's really convenient living. There's no hour drive, there's no traffic, although the construction could be better, but it's really convenient living. It's really easy living, stress-free living. So, it checks a lot of boxes for a lot of guys. It's not the beach or it's not beautiful weather all the time, but we're here to play hockey and we're here to be a part of something, and I think guys want to do that.
And the media is awesome.
That's right.
Conor, you're coming off the shortest summer of your career. I'm just curious what your summer looked like in terms of training and how much different it was than maybe previous years.
Obviously it was a little bit different. I didn't love the start I had last year, both personally and for the group. Definitely learned a lot of lessons that way. The goal is to peak in early October, not necessarily early September. So,
Is it like you came off such a long season last year?
That was a bit of the Conor McDavid presser down there downtown at the community rink as he met with the Edmonton media. It's been a while since we've heard from the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, coming off a 132-point season, 100 assists, Gager. He was just outstanding. And he was asked a question, everyone, to know an extension. that he can sign after this season coming up, and he said he's not going to worry about it this year, and that's. I think that's what we all thought he was going to say. Conor McDavid kind of holds everything pretty close to his chest, and he's not gonna elaborate on that this early on when he still has 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah, it'd be nice, hey, knowing that.
Yeah,
I'm not
just tell
too
us.
worried about. Yeah, well, just knowing that there's a lotto ticket waiting for you at the end of this season. But no, I liked a lot of what he said. What I didn't like is hearing all those pucks hit the glass again. Jesus, hit the net, boys. What is going on?
It was pretty loud in our headsets there. Holy smokes.
I heard 2 good pad saves, maybe 3, but the rest, my gosh, just bang. This is disturbing to me, Hernan.
Yeah, he takes a shot at the construction, which was pretty funny as well. And obviously talking about his good friend Leon Draisaitl, who signed an 8-year extension last Tuesday on our first show, Gager, which was great for us. But yeah, Conor McDavid meeting with the media. I think the boys get going next. I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I think there's
because rookies
physicals Tuesday, right?
Physicals Tuesday, and then on the ice Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it's gonna really pick up. And again, we're gonna get line combinations, but you know how it is in training camp, Gager. They kind of sprinkle in a young guy with some of the vets, so we can't read too much into it. But at least it'll be fun that it's a real practice, and we're not going to be guessing here and just going off, the informal skate lines that we're seeing right now. So I can't wait for that. I'm not young. Hernan loved preseason hockey and all that, but now that I'm a lot older and kind of work in the business, Gage, I'll chime in for a few games and just to see who's playing and maybe look at one guy and see what he's doing out there. But preseason and pretty much any sport right now is a no-go for Hernan.
Yeah. It'll be a background, right? In the background. Something happens, have a look.
I want to get to this. I know the boys were talking about it on the morning show. It was a fun question they put out. How many wings can you consume in one sitting here, Gager? What's your go-to wing flavor? And how many do you think you can? I think the first option was 15 to 20, then 20 to 25, or 25 to 30, or something like that. Because I'll tell you right now, I know for sure I can do 20 and the hot wings. Because I think if you're doing a hot wings competition, Gager, it's got to be hot wings.
Yeah.
You can't do salt and pepper or lemon pepper or anything like that.
No, you got to add a little bit more like spice into the competition.
Make it hard.
Yeah, I think I was the only guy on the planet that actually went to Hooters for the wings. No, when they were in the West End here in Edmonton, they had the spicy garlic wings. They were really hot, but they were delicious. I loved those things. I would say maybe I could do probably 25. It depends if they're breaded or not, right?
That's a good point.
If they're all dusted with stuff, but I'm like George. I like my chicken spicy. Put the hot sauce on there.
Do you go extra hot or just normal hot?
I'll try the extra hot and see where it's at because some extra hots aren't hot at all. I don't need to do the one chip challenge 2 million Scoville units, but I like a little buzz, right?
Yeah. So, Eric retweeted this. It's from Oil City Dynasty on Twitter, and it says, "How many chicken wings do you think you can eat in a night? 0 to 15, 16 to 30, 31 to 45, 46 plus. Like, who's eating that much?" But right now, leading this poll is 16 to 30, and I think that's where me and you, Gager, can land because I for sure can do 20.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I can pound 20. I might do that later.
You're sick though. You can't be eating chicken wings.
Hot food helps, right? Doesn't it? I don't know. I'll probably just go to bed, buddy.
You need those vitamin packs.
I need something.
You know those powders you just mix in with a glass of water, and then the other thing will make
emergency things. Yeah.
You'll get a good sweat on, and then we'll see you back at the office tomorrow, Gage. You know what? I thought this would be a little bit, weird having you remote because I haven't done this since I've been here. I've only been here for 6 days, but you know what? It works just as good. I mean, I'd rather have you here, but this is
good thing. Good catch, Hernan. Jesus.
No, but you know what I mean. Like,
wow.
Like this is
for a week.
This to me is it's great.
Yeah,
I thought it'd be a little awkward for me because you're not here, but it's not. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, no. When I woke up this morning, I'm like, geez. And then I tried to rally, and I go, I can't do this. So what am I going to do? And I didn't want to let you down. But then I realized, geez, I've been doing this for years already. So at least if something comes up, buddy, we can change the call on the fly and call an audible. It's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I still appreciate you joining us. Even though you're fighting it here, you got less than an hour to go, and then you're going to get some good rest and hopefully back in the studios tomorrow. But coming up next, we will go around the CFL. Lots of news, Elks, Stamps, Bombers. We'll get to it all here with 3 games this week coming up, 3 teams on a bye week for the first time this season. But we'll talk all things CFL with John Hodge from 3 Down Nation here on EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. First up, Zach with a sports update.
Tyreek Hill's agent Drew Rosenhaus says that the Miami police officers who arrested Hill should be fired. Rosenhaus believes that, quote, the police officers that did that to Tyreek shouldn't be in that position. They should be let go. And that, quote, they didn't treat him like a human being. Tyreek Hill is set to speak to the media Wednesday for the first time since the body cam footage of the incident has been released. Over in the NHL, former Oiler Tyson Barrie has been invited for a professional tryout to the Calgary Flames. The 33-year-old defenseman had 15 points in 41 appearances for the Predators last season. The Flames also inked veteran blue liner Jared Tenorti to a 1-year, 2-way deal. Tenorti was minus 27 in 52 games for the Blackhawks last year. The Blue Jays look to bounce back against the Mets after dropping their game 3-2 yesterday. First pitch goes just after 5. And just in a moment on EST Afternoons, Hernan and Gager will be joined by John Hodge from 3 Down Nation after the break. I'm Zach Kubusch, and now you're up to date on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Come get your game on at The Ranch. The Ranch lets it all hang out with a championship caliber design, premier conditions, and above all, a fun laid-back experience. Get top-notch service and unmatched value every time you play at The Ranch. Think you have what it takes to go low? The best value for your golfing buck is always The Ranch. The Ranch Golf and Country Club. 10, 50, 100, and 200 round packs on sale. TheRanchGolf.com.
At A&W, you can start the morning off right with a regular coffee and an egger of your choice for just $4.99. Bacon and egger or sausage and egger on a seeded bun or an English muffin? The choice is yours. But we know it'll be tasty either way. And to make matters even more delicious, this offer is available all day. But don't snooze on this deal. An egger and a regular coffee for only $4.99 is a limited time price. Available at participating A&W restaurants in Greater Edmonton.
2:22, Edmonton Sports Talk, EST Afternoons. Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage, and Zach Kubusch, better known as Zachticum. A lot of remedies coming for Gager on the nasty chat here. Some involve alcohol, some don't. But a lot of people trying to help out our good buddy here, Joaquin Gage. A nice comment here on the nasty chat. Well, they're all nice. This one comes from Onstage Dance, where I have you on the shop every day and everybody loves it. I appreciate no swearing. He says you guys are better every single day. Well, thank you for that. Really, really appreciate it. Reminder, you can listen to us at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, or you can watch us on the EST YouTube channel as we're coming to you live here from the William Huff Studios. Paris Jewelers Inbox 780-218-9999. And keep chiming in on the nasty chat on YouTube as we now welcome in John Hodge from 3 Down Nation. John, let's get right to it. Big news here in Alberta. We'll start with the team down south here, as it's being reported today by Salim Volji from TSN that Jake Mayer is back taking number 1 reps. Matthew Shields is the number 2, and Bonner was working with the scout team. In your opinion, is this the right move for the Calgary Stampeders to go back to their starter from the beginning of the season?
Well, I can think of 5 reasons why this is maybe a good move, right? It's the 5 picks that Logan Bonner threw in the Labor Day rematch against the Edmonton Elks. And I mean, I don't want to sit here and say that Logan Bonner is an awful quarterback, because at the end of the day, he's had 1 opportunity to start. He's been in the system for a year and a half. I think he deserves another look at some point down the road. I don't want to judge him based exclusively on what we saw this past week. But that being said, I think he was the Hail Mary, right, for Dave Dickinson and this team. I think he looked at Logan Bonner kind of like a lottery ticket. It's like, well, I know exactly what I'm getting from Jake Mayer. We all know what you're going to get from Matthew Schultz, though he's yet to play in Calgary. He's been in this league for 6-7 years now, largely with the Montreal Alouettes, had a couple of years with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I think that Calgary was wise to shake things up and say, hey, it's like having a scratcher, right, in your coat pocket in the wintertime. You pull out the scratcher, you scratch it off, and you hope to hit the jackpot. That is not what happened in Calgary. Logan Bonner had almost 300 yards, but he also threw 5 picks. You're never going to win throwing 5 picks. So I think with the Stampeders now, they don't really have a choice, right? They have to go back to Jake Mayer. I think they know that they're not going to get all-star quarterback play from Jake Mayer. But at the end of the day, things didn't work out with Logan Bonner. You tried it. I think you move on.
We got a big game coming up on Friday, Lions Argos. Nathan Rourke seems to be rounding back into form a little bit. What do you see? I mean, this game has placing kind of where guys are going to fit come playoff time. How do you see this game going for the Lions? Because they can really almost put some distance between the Blue Bombers and the surging Edmonton Elks.
Yeah, I mean, the Bombers are on bye this week. The Bombers do have the season series against BC. They still control their fate. However, of course, we know that Chris Streveler is out possibly for the rest of the year. There's been no formal update for Winnipeg. I saw Chris Streveler after Winnipeg's recent win over Saskatchewan in the Banjo Bowl. He was hobbling on crutches. I think that there's a very low chance he's going to be back. And so I think the Lions have a heck of an opportunity here. They've got 2 starting caliber quarterbacks, arguably 2 MOP caliber quarterbacks, right? Nathan Rourke, bit of a slow start coming back from the NFL, but he started around into form. He's obviously the future there. Vernon Adams Jr. was probably going to be the MOP of this league until he got hurt. Had he not gotten hurt, he's probably the front runner for that award right now. So I think that the Lions, this is a great opportunity. Rick Campbell is on the record saying he's not going to start Vernon Adams Jr. until he is back to 100%. He's dressed the last 2 weeks, but hasn't been 100%. So I'm curious to see if, in fact, Vernon Adams Jr. is the number 1, or pardon me, is back to 100%. Does Rick Campbell have the gall to tell Nathan Rourke, you are going to sit this week? Or do you let Nathan continue to start? Because they've won the last 2 games by over double digits with Nathan at the helm. And they've beaten the 2 top teams in the East Division, the 2 top teams arguably in the CFL, in Ottawa and Montreal. So it's interesting to see what Rick Campbell will opt to do this week.
Could you possibly see if Vernon Adams is completely healthy? Could you see possibly some packages for Vernon Adams Jr. in this next game, or is it just Nathan Rourke all the way?
I mean, I think it's always good to use 2 great quarterbacks if you've got 2. By all accounts, by all reports, Rourke and Adams get along very well. They were in the building together in 2022 after Adams was acquired from the Montreal Alouettes when Rourke went down with his Lisfranc injury that held him out for the entire second half of the season. So, I mean, I think that's positive, right? If you've got guys who are willing to come in and out of the game, obviously you can do the bullpen thing, right? If somebody starts the game, struggles a little bit, you can always go to the bullpen, make a change. Doesn't have to be a permanent change. Doesn't have to be a big dramatic change. It can just be something that, you know, you flip the switch and you go with the other guy for a little bit. So I think it'd be smart, but you obviously don't want to just arbitrarily take a hot quarterback off the field because, you know, you said so. before the game starts. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a package deal. Wouldn't surprise me to see some type of change mid-game, whether it's Adams to Rourke or Rourke to Adams. It's good to keep both guys engaged, but I think BC would be smart to also let the flow of play impact that decision.
John Hodge from 3 Down Nation joining us here on EST Afternoons. John, another team that has 2 quarterbacks and their head coach post-game here in Edmonton said that he was going to go to Trey Ford for the Winnipeg game. Were you at all surprised how early he came out with that info?
I was, and I've actually been in touch with some members of the Blue Bombers organization who were also surprised that announcement was made so early. Jarius Jackson could have let Winnipeg kind of, just spend the bye week wondering, right, and not knowing who they were going to prepare for. That being said, I love that Jarius Jackson came out and announced this. 1, because I'm a member of the media and it allows me to prepare to do my job. 2, because at the end of the day, in a league as small as the CFL, I think that a lot of the kind of clandestine things that teams try to do, right, the cloak and dagger, smoke and mirror stuff, is a little silly. At the end of the day, the Edmonton Elks are a good football team with McLeod Bethel Thompson. They're a good football team with Trey Ford. That's been the case for the last 6-7 weeks. This team is on a tear. I believe they've won 5 of their last 6 now. They lead the CFL in a number of categories, which is remarkable considering how they started. Just today, I looked it up. They are plus 16 in the turnover ratio. They're number 1 in the CFL. Obviously, the last couple of games have highly impacted that number, but it shows how well, not only are they moving the ball, are they doing all these things, but they're also doing a great job of getting takeaways and protecting the football on offense. So the storyline, too, that I love is the fact that Trey Ford is going to start against Tyrell Ford, his twin brother, for the first time. Like, these two are thick as thieves. I know that they play a lot of 2K online together, and they're very close, have been, obviously, their entire lives, being raised in Niagara Falls as twin brothers. They played together collegiately at the University of Waterloo. Tyrell at defensive back and kick returner. Trey, of course, at quarterback. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point in the future these two guys ended up playing together. But at this point, they will be playing against each other following the bye for Winnipeg at Edmonton. And Tyrell is tied for the league lead with 6 picks. So if Trey's not careful, he might give his brother some bragging rights if he throws anything his way. Yeah,
it's going to be a great matchup to see, John. We can't wait here. And I can confirm Trey is a big gamer, so that does not surprise me that he's online with his twin brother there. Just speaking on both these teams, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Edmonton Elks, both the hottest teams in the league right now. Both defenses playing outstanding. Like you mentioned, the numbers for the Elks, and you look at their linebacking core, Niles Morgan, Nick Anderson, both 1-2 when it comes to defensive tackles. The Elks lead the league now in interceptions with 20, but Winnipeg's bringing it on defensively too. They got a guy we know well here, and Tony Jones, who's really stepped up there. You brought up Tyrell Ford, but it seems like both defenses are kind of hitting on all cylinders heading into these big two games coming up here.
They are, and I think they're doing it in different ways. I think a lot of, with all due respect to Edmonton secondary, I think a lot of the front 6, front 7 play there has really been the key. Noah Curtis, I think, is having a fantastic second CFL season. Sean Oakman, I think, was a massive upgrade for that team. At defensive tackle, they are one of very few teams in the CFL right now that can consistently get pressure with just 4. And when you've got the 2 linebackers who you mentioned there, Hernan, you've got Nick Anderson, you've got Niles Morgan, they can clean up everything, right, that ends up leaking through that defensive line. That makes life extremely easy for a secondary. Winnipeg is on the complete opposite. Their secondary has been absolutely lights out. Guys like Evan Holm, Tyrell Ford, Terrell Bonds, who's been sensational as a rookie, Dietrich Nichols, a multi-time CFL All-Star for a good reason, Reddick Cramdy, who brings a lot of physicality at strong side linebacker. Their issue has been that front 5, front 6 that has been Edmonton's strength. They are not getting pressure right now with just 4. Taiwan Garbutt, I think, when he first came back into the lineup, started the season on the 6-game injured list, has since been starting opposite Willie Jefferson at defensive end. Started strong, fell off a little bit in the home and home against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So I don't think Winnipeg's front is bad, and I also don't think Edmonton's secondary is bad. It's just interesting how these two defenses have been so good, but they're doing it in very different ways.
Oh, is he muted?
I'm not hearing him.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, guys. I was sniffling there, a little bit under the weather. The Hamilton Tiger Cats and Ottawa Red Blacks. Ottawa can end this postseason drought with a win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Kind of a rough year for Hamilton. Watching the Red Blacks at the beginning of the year. They came into Edmonton, kind of handled them, I don't want to say easy, but were able to get the yards needed when it mattered most. How is this game? Is this kind of a foregone conclusion that the Ottawa Red Blacks can get that final playoff spot and get into the playoffs with a win on the weekend?
I mean, I don't think them getting the win this week is a foregone conclusion. I do think that them getting into the playoffs is a foregone conclusion. I mean, this team, interestingly enough, right, like when you look at their games, they've been very close with few exceptions. They've gotten blown out twice. They have one kind of lopsided victory to their name. Other than that, this team has battled close. They're close to the middle of the league in net offense. They're close to the league middle in net defense. They don't force like a ton of turnovers, but I think what this team has done really well is they play their best football late in games. I do think that special teams are part of that. Lewis Ward has been great on his late game kicks. Richie Leone, the punter, I think is still underrated in this league. He provides a lot of really good field position for that team. Devontae Dedmon, though he's injured right now, has had a bit of a bounce back year. So I think specials helps, and that's obviously the area of expertise for head coach Bob Dice. But this team has fully changed that culture. I really think it's safe to say that now, 2/3 of the way through the league. Through the season, pardon me. Last year, this was a team that found a way to lose every close game, and this year they have repeatedly won close games. Despite being 8-3-1, their point differential on the season is close to even, right? Like they have a worse point differential than Edmonton, and Edmonton has only won 5, right, of their 13 games. Ottawa has done it close, and I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. I'm sure their fans would love for them to be in less close games and blow everybody out. But at the end of the day, that's obviously not realistic to do every single week. So I think that Ottawa will be in the playoffs. They did themselves a huge favor by beating the Toronto Argonauts this past week. Had the Argonauts won that game, these two teams would be tied at 7 wins. That is no longer the case. Ottawa has the 8 wins now. Toronto is 6. And Ottawa, of course, still has an extra point from their tie against the Saskatchewan Roughriders back in week 10. So you've got a situation where you've got a 5-point lead now. We all know how important it is to host a playoff game, not just for the financial aspect of CFL teams making a lot of money on those postseason games, but also to win those games. Ottawa is 6-0-1 at home so far this season. I think that their chances of continuing that run in the playoffs are a heck of a lot better than potentially going on the road in the playoffs. So obviously step one is punching the ticket, but I think they're basically there, right? They're going to win another game this season. The question is, can they do enough to get to second place? Dare I say even first? Well, their win against Toronto, I think, has set them up very well to finish at least second.
One last one for you here, John. Saskatchewan Roughriders on a bye week as well. They'll return to play the Calgary Stampeders. What's going on in Saskatchewan? Because the way I see it, a lot of the fans are comparing it to what they saw last year, but I think this team is better. And I think it's coming down to 1-2 plays per game where it's just costing them. They're on I think it's a winless slide of 6 right now. Is that the way you're seeing it? It's just a couple plays here and there's similar to what the Elks were doing early in the season where it was 1 or 2 or 3 plays at a time that were costing them the games, because I don't compare it to last year because I think this team is better coached and a lot better on the field as well.
I do think that they're better this year than in past years, and injuries have been a factor. Their offensive line's been really banged up. That being said, their offensive line's been good. I asked Mike O'Shea after this past game, like Winnipeg sacked Trevor Harris once over 2 games. And I asked Mike O'Shea, are you happy with the amount of pressure you're getting? He said, well, you try sacking Trevor Harris. So Trevor Harris gets rid of the ball in an instant.
Yeah.
The protection has not been this team's issue. In a way, I almost think of the Riders as the anti-Red Blacks. Like the Red Blacks are finding late game solutions to win close ones. The Riders are finding late game problems to lose close ones. And I do think that for fans, there is a bit of an element of, well, here we go again, right? In 2022, this team started off, I believe it was 4-1, lost their last 7, missed the playoffs. In 2023, they started 3-1, lost their last 7, missed the playoffs. This year they started off, I believe it was 5-1 at one point, and now they're winless in 7. They've got 6 losses and a tie in there. It's not good, right? And on the one hand, I think you're right, Hernan. This team is not getting blown out. None of these losses have come by wide margins. Some of them have come with Shea Patterson in at quarterback, who I don't think is as talented as Trevor Harris. I think anybody who is suggesting that Trevor Harris should be benched for Shea Patterson is out to lunch. I think Trevor Harris is the guy. But this team needs to stop the bleeding, and they need to stop it now, because right now the script from the last 2 years is playing out again, despite the changes that this team made, the wholesale changes essentially to its coaching staff this past offseason. And those young coaches, I mean, Corey Mace, Mark Mueller, like this is a very young coaching staff pretty much across the board. They're going to be under a remarkable amount of pressure if this winless streak continues, especially if they get leapfrogged in the standings anymore, because right now they're holding on to that 3rd spot by a thread. The Edmonton Elks are coming for it.
John, great stuff. Enjoy the 3 games this week. It's always great catching up with you. I'm sure we'll have you on here maybe in the next couple of weeks, because I know you're stationed there in Winnipeg, and there's 2 big games between the Elks and Bombers coming up. Thank you for taking the time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's John Hodge from 3 Down Nation joining us here on EST Afternoon. That's excellent breakdown, Gager. The CFL is just a wagon right now, especially the West. I mean, Saskatchewan's reeling. BC's getting hot. Bombers, Elks are getting hot. Calgary's kind of I wouldn't say you kind of feel bad, but you really don't, because Calgary's been so dominant for so many years in the CFL. So seeing them struggle, I think many CFL fans from other markets are enjoying it just a little bit. And the big news there with Jake Mayer getting the number 1 reps, and it does make sense. Maybe it was just I kind of look at it as maybe as similar as to when you kind of went away from Boris Beatty for a game. It's just kind of just get a reset, watch from the sideline, see what's going on, and we'll bring you back. And obviously the 5 interceptions don't help, and the young man struggled. And we've seen that a lot in the CFL when young American quarterbacks get their first taste of the CFL. It's for the most part, Gager. I mean, the Ricky Rays of the world, those are anomalies, right? Like it doesn't happen that often. It usually takes some time. So definitely understand the move there in Calgary and see if they can pick up a big win. They're taking on the Alouettes, so they might be in trouble again. Alouettes are going to be in a fiery mood after losing last week. So it's going to be an interesting time in the CFL here as we get closer to the end.
Yeah, no, and like you forget that, I mean, Jake Mayer was the reason they got rid of Bo Levi too.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's
paid
something,
him a lot of money.
Yeah, there's something there. To see how a player responds shows the real mantle of a person. I'd be interested to see, I'll definitely have eyes on that game, because I want to see how he responds, and quite frankly, how the whole Stampeders respond after taking 2 big losses after almost getting run over by LT.
Yeah, and I think I said it. Was it yesterday? I might have said it yesterday or late last week, where the top 3 passers in the CFL have all been benched at one point this season.
Yeah.
Bo Levi, MBT.
I think Bo Levi still
Mayer.
leads the league, does he not?
Yeah, he's playing though. And, I should have asked John this, but, Powell, their young quarterback that they opted for and benched Bo Levi, but got hurt like in the second drive against the Elks. He's back. He's already off 6 game.
Yeah.
So what decision are they gonna make there? It's fascinating, the quarterback situation in BC, in Edmonton. You go to Saskatchewan. I know a lot of fans are asking for the young Shea Patterson to take over, and then you have the situation in Hamilton. So the CFL never a dud. It's a great league. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for these next couple of weeks, because these 2 games against Winnipeg are going to be outstanding. It's 2:42 here in the city of Edmonton. Coming up next, we'll close out the show, tee up the Reed Wilkins and Jay Milne show here on EST Afternoons. But first up, here's Zach Kubusch with a sports update.
Tyreek Hill's agent Drew Rosenhaus says that the Miami police officers who arrested Hill should be fired. Rosenhaus believes that, quote, The police officers that did that to Tyreek shouldn't be in that position. They should be let go. And that quote, they didn't treat him like a human being. Tyreek Hill is set to speak with the media Wednesday for the first time since the body cam footage of the incident was released. Former Oiler Tyson Barrie has been invited for a professional tryout to the Calgary Flames. The 33-year-old defenseman had 15 points in 41 appearances for the Predators last season. And staying in the Calgary market, the Stampeders quarterback Jake Maier is taking first-team snaps after being benched last week against the Elks. Maier had just 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in his last 3 starts for the club. UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev has been ruled out for his fight against Arman Tsarukyan. The title fight was supposed to take place October 26 in Abu Dhabi, but will be postponed. And Dana White, UFC president, said that he will not make an interim title bout and will wait for the champ Makhachev to recover. After the break, we'll be back with EST Afternoons in the final segment of the show with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. And that was your Edmonton Sports Talk update. I'm Zachary Kubusch.
Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Your brand deserves more than just a whisper. It deserves a buzz. At the Hive Product Marketing, they specialize in promotional products that bring the buzz. From eye-catching giveaways to unforgettable keepsakes, they got the perfect products to make your brand stand out and get noticed. Visit the Hive Product Marketing and let them create the buzz your business deserves. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk. Visit them online at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
You want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy hitters of injury law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oiler fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Edmonton Sports Talk, EST Afternoons with myself, Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage, and the man behind the camera, Zach Kubusch. Thank you for tuning in to the Tuesday edition of EST Afternoons. I do want to send out a birthday wish here. Cry about it on the Nasty Chat says, can you say happy birthday to my little brother, Ben? Happy birthday, Ben. Hope you're enjoying the day. Hope your brother there is spoiling you as well. Let's get to some more Nasty Chat comments here. Dave C780 says, laugh out loud. Barry isn't going to show up for that. Just because he got invited to Flames camp doesn't mean he'll go. Well, if you sign a PTO, it's because you're going. You're going. And obviously there wasn't many other options. Well, we don't know that. Maybe he just picked Calgary. He sees an opening there on that decor because they're probably looking for at least 2 spots there, Gager, because nothing's set in stone outside of their big 3. Just some news from around the CFL as well. 3 Elks, Gager, land on the honor roll for Week 14. Martez Ivey, left tackle, graded out at 78.2. Cordell Jackson, the impressive rookie who I think has 4 picks already, number 15. He's been excellent. Overall, great guy as well. He lands on the honor roll with an 88.9. And the punter, the best punter in the league, Double J, Jake Julian at 76. That's the grade they got. So 3 Elks land on the honor roll. Martez Ivey, Cordell Jackson, and Jake Julian. We heard from Conor McDavid as well on this episode of EST Afternoons as he spoke with the media for the first time, says he's not going to worry about a contract extension at this point, which obviously makes sense. Rookie camp gets going tomorrow with medical and fitness testing. What else did I miss, Gager? Niners big win.
Adrian Newey signs with Aston Martin.
Yes, I was just reading up on that. We're going to have to get our guy Tim on here, eh? Big race this weekend, too.
Big race in Azerbaijan, Baku, street circuit. Fascinating. That I kind of just thought I've been not able to read much here. So I'm interested to see how he lured Adrian Newey away from, I think, McLaren and Mercedes were the top landing spots for him, right? So, and Fernando Alonso seemed pretty pumped to have Adrian Newey being part of their new car. So this really changes the landscape even more so, I think, in F1, because you saw Aston Martin kind of falling off. Like they were in the middle of the pack, but over the last 2 years, I would equate them to more in that 3 to 5 spot, right? But now the gap's there's definitely a valley between those top cars. So with the prior success of Adrian Newey, I can't see them not being really, really competitive. And well, actually, who knows? With I've said it before, the weight of the world on his shoulders, the weight of a country, Lance Stroll. Maybe he gets he starts performing, and we see him on the podium a little bit more.
Oh, Lance Stroll! Well, I shouldn't say. Is he a beauty?
I thought he's a beauty because sometimes he says like the nepotism factor is so big, right? Like, come on. And he kind of says, "Oh, we can't just pay your way into F1 and stuff." But you look at his record; he was a very good driver in the lower series. And Tim Hauraney said on the show weeks ago, I asked him about Lance Stroll and Aston Martin actually consider? How do you consider them a team that's going to challenge when Lance is on the team? But he said, look, he's tenths away from one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time in Fernando Alonso. So as we can see, it's a lot depends on the car. Look no more than the papayas, right? They figured stuff out. Imagine if Aston Martin can figure stuff out. That's going to make it really enjoyable to watch.
Is this, since you've become a big F1 fan, and we all became, I think, fans at the same time with the Drive to Survive series on Netflix, you're really into it. You even have a podcast. Is this the most competitive season since you became a fan?
I would say so. Like we had that wonder battle between Lewis and Max, right? But no one else was close.
No one else was close. Yeah.
So now you had Red Bull looking like Red Bull at the beginning of the season. But then this is where I believe it was 2 years ago where they had that cap penalty that they couldn't use a lot of the wind tunnel time. And a lot of the experts are saying this year is going to be the year where people are going to start catching up to Red Bull because that time in the wind tunnel was reduced. Yeah. So, and it's gone to fruition here. So, I next year supposedly is like everyone's looking forward to it. But yeah, I would say just because Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren are all, battling, you don't really know who's going to win each race at this point. I'd have to say it's the most competitive because there's more cars involved.
Are you, you're not a Max guy, are you? Like, do you have a favorite driver? Or team?
I lean towards Oscar Piastri.
Okay.
I just think this guy's like he's got ice in his veins, man. You hear him on the radio and you got to check this guy for a pulse, right? Like, and I do like McLaren. I like Zach Brown, even though he uses a wheelie bag to take his hockey gear in. This guy, what I read and how he got started in F1, it's fascinating to me. And look, if you watch the last season, I believe it's the last season of Drive to Survive, he was on borrowed time. Like, it looked like they were looking to get rid of Zach Brown. Like the heads of McLaren were having those meetings with him, and somehow he was telling them, no, we got this. And look, this guy's a salesman, one of the best I've ever seen. And I love the fact that now that we have another car that's more dominant than those Red Bulls, and Max is a great driver. I wouldn't say I'm a Max guy. I respect his driving, but part of me, I think, likes to see him a little bit perturbed during the race and complain about the car.
Nothing gives me more joy than hearing him on the radio during the race, and he's just like, this guy gives no you-know-whats, right? Like, he's just giving it to his team. Like, he's just nonstop complaining, dropping F-bombs. I find it hilarious. And what's up with Checo? I heard, I think, one of the morning shows you're on, he's fighting it a bit this year, isn't he?
Well, I think partly the car. They talk about how the advancements, it's hard to keep up with Max with certain adjustments that he wants. Obviously, he's the number one guy, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's he's had a rough time, man. That's he's had the same, just from the beginning of the season. He's had the same machine as Max. Like, he should have been able to challenge Max, I think, a little bit more than he has. But now you can see the true difference in between these two guys. Max is consistently tenths faster than Checo is. So he's got to figure something out, because I do think there's still clauses in that contract where they can look to fill that number 2 seat for next year.
I was just going to ask you that. Is that seat open, or is it still Checo's? But like you said, there's a clause that they can maybe get out of it.
I think there's some performance bonus like clauses in there where he has to compete, because look, if things go to pattern the way they have been, I think McLaren becomes the constructors leader after this weekend. So that's massive. The Red Bull's been on that thing for the past 3 years. So they have to find a way to start competing again, getting some points, getting some podiums. But I think it's interesting to see what Charles Leclerc was able to do in Monza in the last race, being able to take care of the tires, do the one stop. Like, there's some masterful driving that's going on with all these guys right now. I'm looking forward to getting back in the studio and watching the F1 with you, Hernan.
Yeah, I always look at the jobs there and like, imagine covering F1 and the travel you get to do. Like, that's got to be one of the top media jobs in the world.
Oh yeah, you're going all over the world. Like, 24 stops all over the world, 26 stops all over the world, like in different countries. Yeah. Like, it's just it's all
bougie.
Exactly. It's really bougie. Like
you're not going somewhere and staying at the Sandman, right? Like you're you're living it up. Is there a spot you would want to go on the top spot for you?
I don't. Lieutenant Eric and I think we would both go to Zandvoort. I think that's the in the Netherlands there. It's that Euro trash music that I love so much, and it's just.
Yeah.
I think I would. I think Silverstone too would be cool. The birthplace of F1. Just the history of it all. I'd like to, if all possible, just do that whole European circuit while they're over there, right? Just driving around, take the train to places and camp out for the weekend and just hang out in the paddock.
Monaco, Abu Dhabi, so many great places. And
Australia.
Yeah.
We got Vegas coming up soon. Texas too. So a little bit in a few race times back on North American side. So that's exciting too.
All right, we're going to have to get our boy Tim Harani here on later this week to tee up the next race here in F1. I love your passion for it, Gager. It's absolutely fantastic hearing you talk F1. I see the glow in your face there right now. But that's going to wrap up EST Afternoons for this Tuesday. We had a great show. Dave Pagnotta joined us from the 4th period to talk some NHL. John Hodge from 3 Down Nation as we went around the CFL, and we also heard from Conor McDavid down there at the downtown community rink. Big shout out to Gager for toughing it out today under the weather. His Jordan game. Gager, my man, thank you so much. Feel better, get some rest. Zach, great job behind the camera there as well. We'll chat with you tomorrow. Thanks again for tuning in to Edmonton Sports Talk and EST Afternoons. For Joaquin Gage and Zach Kubusch, I am Hernan Salas. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Two guys and a goalie.
I don't mind analytics. I just don't like when people are like only analytics and only this, and they're like, oh, you can't do that, guy is, and so he's horrible. And I'm like, let's watch the tape, and then let's look at those analytics and say why some of that stuff happened before we make our decisions.
Cass is good in the sheets, the Excel spreadsheets.
I was going to say,
like
Cass, what do you think of analytics? By the way, this episode will be called Cassalytics. Hey, I think it's got to be.
Yeah. Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon, only on Edmonton Sports Talk.